Alright, back in the fold after a week of playing the division pretty hard. Yeah, just gonna start playing. I mean, I'm gonna do this tokens deck because, well, the whole thing about it is, well, we'll talk about it. Jeez. Alright, so this deck, the whole point of this thing is it's just basically a Thopters deck because Thopters are just good. And instead of having artifacts that matter, it has Retreat to Emeria, which pumps the guys and makes tokens. And it has Kytheon's Tactics, which when you have a bunch of guys, just +2/+1s and wins the game. Instead of having Chief of the Foundry. And that's it. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's pretty much tokens. And it's pretty much Thopters. It just has a couple different things in it. I don't like to go through every single choice because, I mean, every single thing is either obvious or circumstantial. And if you go over every circumstantial thing without just playing games, it doesn't make any sense. It goes right over people's heads. So explaining in text form sometimes is a little bit easier. Explaining in these videos is a waste of time because people just listen and they want to see the game. So that's my opinion anyway. This deck is not actually super great in the meta, but it doesn't win a lot of games because it's surprising, and that's kind of like a good thing. Being surprising against average people is a really good way to win. This might play Gideon, which is nice. It's not going to play Whirler Rogue anytime soon, though. The mana is the worst part of this deck, but I just don't like doing the same thing everyone else does. By the way, the reason why I fetch here is just because I know it's not technically correct. It gives them information that I don't have to give them, but I'm just giving it to them just to streamline the whole process. Like, it doesn't matter that much. Like, okay, so he thinks maybe we're mono red right now. And when we play a plains, he's just going to be like, maybe we're red white, but you know, what's he going to do? He's still like, this guy's obviously going to ramp. He's going to go Gate Creeper Vine, probably Nissa's Pilgrimage into Acid Moss. And hopefully he will Acid Moss away our ability to ever play Gideon so that we can just lose right away. Anyway, the reason why I made this deck, or I shouldn't say that. I made this deck before BFZ came out, and it was just good, and I just added BFZ stuff. The reason why I'm playing it today is because I got in an argument with a guy on Reddit because he made this whole long post about how people need to stop crying about Acid Moss and that it's not a big deal, that it's so beatable and all this stuff. You should know better to just beat decks that are easy to beat, blah, 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 whatever the heck he was saying. And he wasn't wrong, but he was trying to say that it wasn't format warping, but I think that Acid Moss has clearly been format warping. That's not even a question. My contention was that every single deck is built to beat Acid Moss or Infectious Red, and therefore is format warping. I said that no control deck can actually survive Acid Moss without having green to have their own Gate Creeper Vines and Acid Mosses, and I also think that's a reasonable thing to say. Jace Vryn's Prodigy, my suspicion is we're going to beat this guy very quickly, but we'll see. I kind of want to play Gideon and greedily +1. And that is what I'm going to do. +1 no value is pretty crappy. Especially when we can't attack. But I want to make more tokens after this, and I want to ultimate next turn, so we're just going to do it stupidly. I'd almost never do that, but we're doing it this time. If he bounces Gideon, that's pretty bad. We'll look like idiots. And by will, I mean me. I will look stupid. Because that is a greedy play to just try and ult and keep Gideon around. But what are you going to do? It seemed like his deck was super slow and he missed the turn 4 Acid Moss, so thought we might get there. The fact that he has gotten a swamp with this Evolving Wilds makes me very nervous about Languish, because Languish would be super good against us. In fact, Languish just wins all the time against this deck. This deck's not that great, but like I said, it does win a lot because it's surprising. If they Languish one turn too late, they just get Kytheon's Tactics for 1,000,000, and we never have to worry about Jace flipping for any other reason than -3ing and languishing again. It's me chewing on ice again. That's just something I do. Evolving Wilds, that's cool. Great. Alright. He's got a little spice going on here. I'd be willing to trade 1/2/2 token for that thing. This card's pretty good sometimes. It's only one copy of it. Just gains 2 life for all the millions of things we have on board. Get our emblem. Whirler Rogue. This is a classic time to get languished to death, by the way. Pretty premier time to be languished. This Retreat to Khazan-dû card is sometimes very, very slow. I actually tried it in a couple different decks. I don't think it's that good. It's pretty good in draft, but this game has a little bit more power than a normal draft, so you can just be a little too fast for that card sometimes. But I mean, if you have enough of these fucking Evolving Wilds in your hand when you have it on board, you get to gain a ton of life. Sometimes people have had, like, there was a guy that had 2 of them out on me, and he like played a land like 10 turns in a row, and he played that Nissa's Renewal, and that put 3 lands. It was like insane what he did. He went crazy off. I was very impressed. Easily gained 60 life that game. It was nuts. I think I won anyway somehow. I don't know how, but I'm pretty sure I came out of that one ahead. There's Acid Moss. We knew it. I don't actually care in this case because we already played a ton of stuff, but I mean, it's a prime example of what I'm talking about. Like, everybody has this card for a reason. It's because it's super busted in this game. He doesn't even want to attack Gideon. It's interesting. We're going to do all the stuff right now, right this second. And by all the stuff, I mean attack with Gideon and the entire team for all this amount of damage, the most amount of damage ever. One thing that's cool about this, although it's not turned on right now, but sometimes you get Spell Mastery on Kytheon's Tactics, and everybody gets Vigilance, and I can actually make a guy unblockable with Whirler Rogue after attacks, which is pretty nuts. He just takes it because that's what this deck does. It surprised him, and he lost. Now that is one example of why Acid Moss can be beat, is because it is a little slow. If you do nothing on turn 4, and Gatecreeper Vine is almost nothing on turn 2, it's slightly something. Then if your opponent's actually playing something, and in this case, it was me, so I played stuff instead of playing nothing. When your opponent plays stuff, you will get smashed if you do nothing on turn 1, 2, and 4. I like playing token decks. Token decks are one of my favorite types of decks. I usually don't like playing red token decks where it's like mono red. The standard deck called Atarka Red that sometimes goes wide with tokens, and that's not as fun for me. But in general, I'm quite a large fan of token decks. I like that, you know, they really beat up on people that try and do spot removal, meaning a card that kills one thing. And even though our tokens are small, they still have to kill something. And if they kill one thing, it feels pretty bad to kill one thing and then have your opponent still have a thing. I know that's a really weird way of saying it, but that's just kind of the way it's said in Magic circles. There's things and there's kills. And if kills only kill one thing and you make two things, you're up a thing. If this is just black-white, I'd be surprised, but I mean, black-white vampires isn't like the worst deck ever. Black-white control I've actually seen before. It's not that good, but it does have every board sweeper. Like Planar Outburst and Languish and Tragic Arrogance is sometimes enough to win. Yeah, see. I sort of suspected Esper, but I don't think Control's very good right now. But he could Languish us to death, which would be a bummer. I'm actually going to play this Aggregate here. There's a couple reasons why. One, it's going to be much more gigantic if we Whirler Rogue next turn and do it. And two, I have Disperse mana, so if he actually has another Reeve Soul, we can bounce this thing and waste one of his removal. Alright, well, now he's trying to counterspell us, probably, which is annoying. Makes me want to do nothing. We can actually pop this, crazily enough, but we're not gonna. If it's Esper control, it's always better to be safe than sorry. He'll probably draw end of turn. Yep. Inspiration. That is a draw spell. I didn't play Dragon Fodder, but it doesn't matter. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna save this. I should have played Dragon Fodder. I thought maybe that was stupid. Sometimes I don't play right. This is nice. We get to kill this Obnixilis anyway, even though I played terrible. Obnixilis is actually not that great of a card. It's also slow. You can pretty much only play it in control decks, but if you just let it sit around, it's going to win the game, so better to just not let it win the game. It's my philosophy. It's also late. I know, oh god, it's so annoying. Sweepers. We've still got a huge arsenal, so that's okay. It slightly sucks. It also sucks especially bad if Vile Aggregate is killed right now, or if he plays if he played that Sphinx right now, I would just die. It'd be so sad. Yeah. We're gonna play smart, if possible. By smart I mean attacking for one only. Celestial Flare, sure. Fucking annoying. God. I hate playing against control, but I hate other things a lot more, so I just accept it. There's a lot of decks in Magic that are annoying, but it's a fun game anyway. Figuring out how to beat very good versions of control draws is challenging and fun. I wish somebody would stop texting me. This is not the time. It's 2:30 in the morning. Let's continue being smart. and not playing into counter spells. Let's do 2. Gideon's Reproach. Sure. How much you want to bet if I pop this Foundry of the Consuls at the end of this next turn, he languishes right after? 100%? Is that what we're going for? 100%? Because I say 100%. We're going to do it. He has now enough mana to languish and counterspell anyway, so. Oh, God. Control is always about leaving back more answers. In this case, he's going to languish us. We're going to Whirler Rogue. He's going to counterspell that, and then we're not going to be able to play another Whirler Rogue because we don't have enough mana. And then he'll have... Yeah, see, look at this. This is just fucking so annoying. God. His draw's been perfect, by the way. Kill spell, draw spell, board wipe. Kill spell, board wipe. Counter spell right now. Pause. Spell shrivel. We lost the game. He was lucky, though. I mean, Esper Control is a shitty deck. I know this is the second time. It's like, I played this against this deck 2 times on stream, and I'm going to lose both times, but that doesn't make that deck good. The only reason we lost is because we're not playing Acid Moss. Because if we Acid Mossed him, he would have just not had a ton of mana and did whatever he wanted. This will also be countered. Thanks for not drawing a land, deck, because we could have paid for that under normal circumstances. God, and then another telling... It's just... Getting buried under draw spells and counter spells when it's like in this exact situation is just brutal. And if he scatters to the winds, it's just... I mean, he gets to awaken, it's just over. Play this thing. This is good because if he has another spell shrivel, we can actually pay for it. We're going to continue doing 2 damage. 0% chance I'm going to play this Whirler Rogue right now. I mean, we could still win, mainly because Esper Control is really bad in this meta right now, but this is not exactly the best deck against it. It might actually be the worst deck. This is our hardest matchup. Celestial Flare. Who is this guy? Some jackoff? Jesus Christ. Run out of cards, please. You always want a follow-up. We did not have a follow-up for 2 turns because of the counterspell. So we're probably going to lose. But he's still on a 4-turn clock until he Ulamogs or whatever. Whatever insanity he's planning. Yep, that's actually a pretty good draw. If we can sneak him to 2. Keep on playing nothing. I hope he just plays something. Just anything. Languish. It's so annoying. Esper Control. I mean, it has a lot of, I don't want to play this Whirler Rogue at all. Not against 6 mana. You gotta be patient. Stuff like Foundry. Ulamog. Jesus Christ. Alright. Ulamog's actually beatable. Shocking as that is. We can't play 2 things. We can play 2 things. We can play Twin Bolt. Normally, the best thing to do would be to let him untap and get Ulamog so we get him for an extra turn, but instead of doing that, we're going to do it right now because if he counterspells, we lose the game. I don't want that to happen. He has another language, which, by the way, is probably his last board. Oh, God. Oh, God. So we need, like, exactly Kytheon's tactics off the top, or we lose. That is not Kytheon's tactics. That is us losing. We lost, man. That's sad. Now I wish we would have at least gambled with the adverse conditions. God, Disperse? This guy was the luckiest player I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen some players that lucked out with control, but this guy had everything. He had a perfect draw. All 3 board wipes. He just now got through half his deck. Just now. And he had every single board wipe. Well, besides language. He had 3 out of 4. That's a lot. There's only 1 board wipe left in his deck. He found them all. Got Edict. It's insane. We don't even have an out anymore. Actually, that was almost an out. If he didn't Edict our thing, we won. Well, I guess he still has a counterspell. There's still that. Yeah, we still lost. We'll just show him how close he was to losing. And then leave. He was lucky. I don't give a shit. I have a real bad attitude about losing to perfect draws behind the anonymity of the internet. I'm actually fairly respectful in person, but even when I'm respectful, I'm thinking, geez, that guy conveniently had everything. But once again, that is one of our worst matchups with this deck because all we're doing is making tokens. I don't even have counter spells in here. I usually will run a counter spell when I'm running blue, but I don't because that's just not on the plan. Usually you want to prepare for all situations, but they don't let you have a sideboard in this game, and that's just what's happening, you know? I mean, you can only do what you can do, and what I could do there was lose, so that's okay. I didn't like it, but I did it. I actually thought we might win because of the adverse conditions, but he had a counter spell and a board wipe available and 2 kill spells available and 11 mana, so you know, 0 chance essentially. Adverse conditions is actually one of the best answers to Ulamog. In the green ramp deck, meaning not what we just played with 50 counter spells, they just, like, Ulamog just doesn't attack for 2 turns, and usually that's enough to win. I think I like Vile Aggregate first. You know, we get in the haste, but we want Vile Aggregate to be a 2 attacking more, just to randomly ingest one of his good things. Ingest is weird because it has insane upside, but it has a less obvious downside. And the less obvious downside is that sometimes you just ingest a land and then they draw the creature they wanted. This guy not playing anything here makes me feel like he's going to counterspell us, funnily enough. I know we just played some counterspell stuff, but this feels like another counterspell to me. We'll play into it just to see. Alright, it could be a Bounding Crisis. It would trade for Felidar Cub. That would be a bummer. Not gonna deny it. Alright. That's surprising, man. I thought we might get hosed there. I was willing to do it just because at this point, I would rather see what he's got and do our Foundry the Consuls into Kytheon's Tactics thing. And by the way, Reprisal, really good card, but narrow. This is a perfect example of like why a sideboard would be really nice in this game, so that when he plays against us, I mean, Vile Aggregate's the only thing in this deck that ever is even targetable by this, and not even all the time, like right now, for example. You can side that out and put something relevant in, like, I don't know, Planar Outburst would be pretty sweet for him right now. This feels like a board wipe, for sure. We will block. Why would he attack if not to try and get free 2 damage before board wiping with Planar Outburst? Really? Jeez, I'm just shocked. I feel like that was an easy call, and yet it was not. We're going to thin our deck. Let's see. Get white. I don't know what he's got here, but whatever it is. It's a Bounding Crisis. Adverse conditions. I thought he would do that last turn, but I was wrong. He wanted to set me up for a big ambush. It's very suspicious. Like, let's just go back and talk about what he was thinking. What he was thinking was, if I make this attack with Felidar Cub, maybe I get 2 damage in, but then I won't have any blockers. So he thought, oh, if I just show that I have no blockers, and I'll think I can get in for free with Thopter Engineer. Somewhat smart thinking, but not the case at all. My suspicion is that he has another Bounding Crisis, but I don't know. Let's try Retreat to Emeria first. I like it. We're going to attack with just this thing. I'm a pretty conservative Magic player, generally. If I think somebody's leaving mana open to try and get me, I don't let them get me. I hang back. Because if he does nothing and I do 1 damage, I did 1 more damage than he did. That's annoying. We're going to blow that up. I don't want him gaining 4 life nor killing my thing. It's pretty interesting. I actually don't think Solemn Offering is that great anymore. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, you gain 4 life. Before BFZ came out, Thopter artifact decks were like a very, very popular and very, very successful deck. In fact, I think it was the best deck at the time. That card was excellent because Perilous Myrrh and Thopters and Thopter Spy Network and Foundry Chief, like all that stuff was just nailed by that. Well, I thought I might be able to get his Felidar Cub to bite, but I didn't. Now I'm going to wait on this retreat. Build out my board. He's almost dead next turn, honestly. Quite close to dead. Because I think we can retreat to Emeria, Blighted Steppe, +1/+1, and then +2/+1. Because 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think we can do that. It's very important to have a plan in Magic, by the way. It's very important to think what you're going to do next turn if things stay the same. And as soon as they play something, think about what that really changes. He took a conservative line here of not attacking at all. I'm going to play this. And oh man, I would love to get in. I don't actually need to get in with those. I'm just going to attack with this one Thopter again. Next turn I'll Kytheon's Tactics. I want him to just tap out. Yeah, that's interesting. Alright, let's do this. I'm going to go for just the Retreat to Emeria first, just so he... Well, maybe I won't. God, I don't want to be fogged or anything, though. Yeah, I'm going to do the Retreat to Emeria. He gets to destroy it, but I don't care. I actually want him to destroy it. I just don't want to waste this Kytheon's Tactics on a non-kill. I'm going to put the Cub in front. Now he has to Solemn Offering, which I'm perfectly okay with. I want him to waste more mana. Even if he gains 4 now, I don't care. Officially. See, that's ideal. Like, if he -3s Jace, Solemn Offerings this thing, gains 4 life. Especially if he doesn't have a green open, which, I mean, he probably will, but I'm very nervous about Fog. I would hate to be fogged so much. The amount I don't want to be fogged is pretty high. He still has green open. I guess it's reasonable that he could fog. He doesn't seem like he's a fog deck, though. Maybe I should just go for it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. Well, let's just go for it all. Let's get insane. Definitely game over in like 1 second here. This is probably a little more conservative than even I would do, but I mean, he had a lot of mana open all the time, you know, I don't know. Can actually make some stuff unblockable. May as well. This thing. I don't know. One of these. Playing Magic's fun. This is a fun deck. Like I said, it's surprising. I felt like I played bad tonight, but I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'm not 100% of my game. Yeah, attack with 5 or more creatures 5 times, no problem. Yeah, I mean, once again, we'll just look at it again. Like, when you make a tokens deck where you're going to just win out of nowhere, you're just trying to play as many spells that play more than one thing as possible. Okay, so Knight of the White Orchid doesn't, but this is just trying to fix mana a little bit, find some lands. Jace Vryn's Prodigy, get back a burn spell, play another Dragon Fodder. You can get Kytheon's Tactics out of the graveyard. You know, I mean, adverse conditions, good answer for giant things. Gideon pumps all your guys. You mainly play it for the Anthem. You saw me greedily use it in game 1, but I mean, that's all there is to it, man. Vile Aggregate gets pumped by a lot of the things in this deck, mainly all the Thopters and Eldrazi Skyspawner. I mean, this deck's good. It does not have the conventional answers to Acid Moss, and it has very little answer to Infectious Red. Hard answers anyway, just convenient Twin Bolt in response. But it does make a lot of Thopters you can chump block for a lot. This deck has actually just chump blocked like 8 times in a row against giant Infectious Red stuff, and then eventually like just had enough things to swing back with still. Because if you make 2 or 3 things a turn, eventually you're going to have enough things to chump block and swing back with. And it's pretty amazing. I've won some pretty amazing games out of nowhere with this deck against like really aggressive starts. And that's just going to be it for now. I mean, I feel like I was a little bitch in this video, but about that Esper control. But I mean, you know, I was a jerk off, and yeah. Hopefully I'll beat it next time, because kind of getting sick of it. Later.